47, 48, that's it, that's over, that's never going to happen.
The lucky part is that I don't really see very well when I'm not wearing specs. So I wake up in the morning and I go, hey, you're looking good today.
That's the secret.
I don't need makeup today.
And then as well, your age will become a problem for you. Whereas if you stay active, if you stay young of mind, if you are interested, getting to know what's going on in the world, then I think age actually can be very nice because you're mature.
Well, 45 is young. I mean, yeah, absolutely, it is really young.
So before we do this,
Let's drink.
Yeah.
There are billions of women passing through similar experiences all around the world, and for whatever reason, we often feel like we're alone. It's time to make a point of discussing these topics from a range of viewpoints. Women in the workplace, fertility, the menopause, women's rights, social media, sexuality, body image, politics, relationships, parenting, age, and women in their role today. These conversations surpass age, race, location. They are relevant to women everywhere. Welcome to the She Word. Conversations that women rarely have, but really should.
There is one idea that makes life just an okay life. It is that everything moves in one straight line. But we have a different idea about life, where you can start over every day. A circular journey. At Browns, we curate for that journey, for you to find your better self, your more confident self, healthier self, comfortable self. Start your journey today. Find your way to wellness with Browns.
Welcome to the She Word. Conversations that women rarely have, but really should. And today's conversation is about women and age. And my guests are Helga Ellul, German-born, Maltese-lived businesswoman, campaigner, mover and shaker, who is not only inspirational for her achievements, but your bright, enthusiastic and formidable example of what a woman can truly achieve. And also Andreana Debattista, who is a model.
Well, not a model.
I'm going to say model, singer, producer, presenter, businesswoman who shows absolutely no signs of stopping. And Sam Rowe Beddoe, founder of the Olwyn Foundation, an organization set up to protect the rights of women and girls around the world and help them thrive, but also a mum and a wife who splits her time all around the globe. Ladies, thank you so much for being with me on this show. I'm going to be talking to you guys about age. So before we do this,
Let's drink.
Yeah.
Touche, Andy set the tone for the show. Before we do this, listen, I just want you guys to I've introduced you, but I'd like you to take a little bit longer to just give a few minutes of your backstory to explain who you are and how you got to where you are today. So over to you, Helga. Okay. A few minutes, okay? A few minutes.
I promise. I mean, as you already said, I'm German-born, but I came to Malta way, way back. So I have been living here now for 48 years, married 45 years, had a very, very good career. But now I have also, on top of it, 5 grandchildren. The youngest one, 2 months, gorgeous little baby girl. So I'm still a bit involved actively in business. I cannot let go. But my prime priority are now my grandchildren.
Okay. Well, you're being a bit shy on that because you actually have been involved in so many aspects of employment and work structure in Malta. We're going to come to that as part of your story. But for you, Andy, what's your story?
Well, I'm not a model. Well, I try hard to, stay in shape. I'm 48 years old now. I used to be a teacher. I was a teacher for 20 years. But now I decided, about 5 years ago, my partner Melanie Kelly and myself have decided to just stop teaching and pursue our dream, which always has been television. I've been a singer for a while, but when you're used to having a normal wage and the money comes at the end of every month, the most difficult thing is saying, okay, this is it. I'm going to try to follow my dream, and money is not necessarily going to come every single month, but you're going to follow what your passion is. And right now I can say that I am following my passion. I am a singer, I'm a producer, I'm a presenter, but I'm also a kid.
A model? Oh, sorry.
I'm not a model, yeah. Anyone who would like to hire me as one. I am a kid. I'm a kid at heart. I literally don't relate to what I used to think 48-year-old women were at the time when people used to tell me I'm 48. I mean, I remember the day once I asked my mom, how old are you? And she said 37. And I remember thinking, that's old. And now I'm 48. And I feel like a 12-year-old.
You've just answered every question on this.
Oh, all right.
So we can go home now. That's it. We're done. Show done. That's all over.
But it's true. I don't relate to the age. I don't. And in fact, when you think in a year and a bit, I'm going to be 50.
We're coming to that.
I'm like, what?
This is the next question. Leave my questions alone.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Sam, over to you.
Okay, so as you mentioned, I am the founder of a foundation. We run programs and collaborate with organizations that support women and girls, particularly with accessing education. My background is also education. I ran a theatre project for many years in the UK. I'm a designer. I'm a mother. I have 4 children. So I've evolved, as we all have, at different times in our lives. We're doing different things and our priorities are different. And I was thinking very much about this question today, and I was thinking that my age, and I will be 55 in November, at this point it's enabled me to have so much more freedom. So funny enough, the phases that you go through, with your career and early career, and then having children, and then being a little bit older, not yet a grandma, but I'm really excited for it. But that actually what it's given me now at this point in my life is a greater degree of freedom to be able to do whatever I want to do.
Okay,
Which I do.
Again, Sam, leave my questions alone.
Sorry.
We're coming to that in a second as well, but I'm going to come right back to what you just said there a second ago, Andy, because you said we're coming up to 50. You and I are the same age, and we're 2 years away from 50. And and even saying that makes me a little bit nervous. I embraced 40, 30 just passed me by. But for you ladies, and you've just said, Sam, you're 55, and we're not going to ask Helga her age because that would be rude.
No problem. I can tell you.
Go on, tell us.
Yeah.
Of course, no. I just had my 75th birthday.
God bless you.
Yeah.
God bless you, absolutely. So let me ask each of you, and I'm going to start with you because you mentioned this, trepidation about being 50.
I'm excited. No, I don't. I tell everybody I'm going to be 50. I'm quite, whenever I speak to people, it's like, yeah, soon 50, and for example, my mom tells me, don't stay saying, I'm like, I don't mind. I'm proud I'm 50. First of all, some people don't even get to it. You know what I mean? It's a sign. It's thank God you're healthy. Thank God you're getting to 50. You should very well hope you're going to get to 60, 70, 80, and 90. You know what I mean? I'm excited about being 50. And thankfully, I mean, I look all right, so people usually go, wow, so it's a compliment.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
But
let's be honest.
Did you feel that way about 40?
No, 40 did not feel like any different. I remember my mother when she turned 50. I remember my mother, I mean, I look up to my mother. My mom's my role model. My mom's going to be 77 and she looks fabulous. God bless her. But I remember when she was turning 50, she was like a bit sad. I'm like, what? You're 50 and you look like that? And I want to be that. I want to be 50 and I want to be the 50-year-old people think, oh, yeah, why not? I mean, I know I have wrinkles already, and the lucky part is that I don't really see very well when I'm not wearing specs. So I wake up in the morning and I go, hey, you're looking good today.
That's the secret.
I don't need makeup today. Then silly me decides to wear specs. And I'm like, back in the day when we were 20, we never bothered with makeup. We just looked great. And now when you wear specs, you realize there are that defect. But it's all about what you tell yourself, If you tell, it's all about I am a very big law of attraction person, okay? If I tell myself I'm fabulous, I look great, not because I'm so proud, because I'm not. It's like me telling myself. Because you know what? If you tell yourself you're looking ugly, you're going to look
You're
ugly.
going to be. Yeah.
But you were nodding your head
No, but
frantically there.
I think I have a bit of a different experience. I mean, for me, the birthday I remember most, which sort of bothered me, was 40. 40 was quite a difficult birthday for me because you leave a bit your youth behind. Now it's going to be the 50s, the 60s. So that was quite a bit of a difficult one. From there on, no. I think I always said, but I feel still 25. I know I'm not, but I feel very young in my mind.
In my mind, that's it,
You know,
the
I
mind.
always like to be with young people. They encourage me. They are fun. I see so much potential. So I think that keeps you as well very, very young. You know, so when I'm with young people, especially women, I don't feel old. I feel at par with them. I can talk to them, and I think they feel as well the same. Because if your mind remains young, you remain young. You know, if you make you feel yourself old and let go.
I'm going to come to you, Sam. Any trepidation about 40 or 50 or anything that's coming ahead?
40, no, funny enough, because I had my daughter when I was 40. So it kept me, I was still in that very just youthful, I'm producing babies, I'm looking after, so she's my youngest. So I had her when I was 40. So no, not at all. 50, exciting, party, celebrate, which we really, really did. I did it in so many ways. I think I had a birthday for a whole year. I loved it. And it was only really probably more around, I started sort of forgetting how old, because 50 then went, and that was a fabulous. And then it was sort of like 52, what am I 52? Am I 53? And that's when it's a little bit more, perhaps just a greater sense of one's own transition, and you're transitioning into a different part of your life, namely possibly being a grandmother, all of those things. And I think 60 possibly is more of a like, okay, because none of us think, all my friends are my age, and none of us think we're, likewise, we're all 25 in our minds, we're all really active, we're all working, we're creating, we're traveling, we're doing as much of the thing, what we like. And I think this feels like, when they said the 50 is the new 40, and I'm like, so now is like 60 the new 50? I'm like, or is 70 the new 60? And I think there's a sense of, 60 feels a little bit like you're going to be a bit older. I'm not worried about it, and I have no issue about telling anyone how old I am. Like you, there's a little bit of like, and you have 4 children, and then you get this sort of odd kind of compliment, and you're like, yeah, I do. Yes, I am,
But that comes back to something you said right at the very beginning, which was that now is your opportunity to shine. Now is your opportunity to do what you want. And I'm assuming that's because your youngest is old enough to be independent, and now is your time of opportunity. Is that the case? Go on and explain that a little bit more. Yes, and I
feel really lucky about that, because I started to, I had my first child when I was 27, which was very young amongst my peers. So I sort of, I guess in a way I kind of missed out on a lot of the young things that people were doing at that time, like the traveling, or my life changed dramatically. And then in a way, with having a child at 40, I felt very blessed with that. And was being considered a geriatric mother. That's actually what they call you, which is just like, wow, okay. But then I felt so youthful because I had a baby and a 2-year-old, and then 2 teenagers, which was challenging in itself. But what I now feel is I feel youthful. I've had all of this experience, work, family, all of the many different things that we've all done. And now it's like, I'm in my mid-50s, and I can do what I like.
What I like.
And that's really incredible, because I guess I'm not having to look after someone else's baby. I'm not a grandmother. I'm not, my children are self-sufficient to a certain degree. And so I have a freedom that I haven't had since probably before being a mother, so in my mid-20s. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful. And that also comes with that sense of, with menopause, with the changes, and there's a freedom that comes with it. And it's wonderful. Celebratory, actually.
profusely when Sam was just saying there about freedom, and you've had a very long and very successful career. Did you feel once you'd finished your career, and you've been revered, and you are revered throughout Malta and beyond for your successful career, but did you feel when you got to that point, when you got older, okay, now my life starts and I get to start enjoying freedom?
Yes, in a certain way. I mean, because obviously, as you said, I had a very good career, but it was a very demanding job. I mean, sort of the 10, 12 hours. When the kids had grown up, then I could as well have some free time, play golf, do things which I never had time before.
Play golf?
But I still do, but not very good. I mean, but I love the game, yes. And so I could do things I never had time before. But then when I retired, actually, sort of from very active business in 65, but then I kept still working but then I chose to do what I like to do, which was helping young women, young entrepreneurs, mentoring them. They came for advice. They said, can we hire you as a consultant? I said, just come for a chat. Let's see what you need. And that, I think, they wanted sort of my experience, a bit my wisdom. I, more than anything, wanted to know what they really wanted, to get out from them, because deep down they knew. But they needed just that tiny bit. Then somebody tells them, what you are thinking is good. Go for it.
Yeah,
this confidence a bit.
Yeah.
Am I right? Am I going the right way? And I think this mentoring part with young women is really something which has given me a lot of fulfillment. And that's when you say sort of, I have been a role model. Yes, obviously because of my career. And as I was in the public eye, president of the chamber and all that. So, and always the first woman, because I mean, in 74, when I came, there was no women in manufacturing business, so not even in Germany, in other countries. So it was quite a bit of an oddball. But sort of that I had sort of this prestige that they all looked up to me, but I could actually help them to bring out their potential. And believe me, there is so much talent here. So many good women.
And you've just touched on a point I really want to get to in just a second about this wisdom and about experience and the values of us as older women. But before we get there, because Andy, you just said that your dream started when you started working with Melanie and you were able to pursue that. How old were you when you started doing that?
What's about 5 years ago? I think we're 42, 43.
So you started living your dream when you were well into your 40s.
Let me tell you, I started singing very late. Because back in the day when I started taking part in festivals and singing, I used to be competing or singing with people who had been doing it since they were 12 and I was already 30. So singing really late. Then I was a teacher for 20 years. I started producing and whatever really late. I started everything really late. When, nowadays people are more into telling their children, trying to put their children on TV and stuff. I'd never had that. My parents put me through school. They taught me the proper values of manners and stuff like that, but never pushed me artistically. My mother, incidentally, is an artist. She's a painter. She's a very well-known Maltese artist. But we're always more into the academy. So I feel very lucky that the universe directed me there. My parents are extremely encouraging, so if I want to try something, they'll encourage it, but they won't push me themselves, but they'll encourage everything. So my parents encouraging me with meeting the right people. I believe the universe will direct you where your wish goes. I believe that completely. But yes, I started very late. And now I'm doing what I really love to do. But I wanted to say something else about aging, which maybe, I don't know, maybe I don't have children. I don't have children, so I never went through that part of, but I have super close friends who have had children, and it's, we complain, we're women, so it's like I have the kid. So Melanie must be thinking, she's talking about me. It's like because we share everything with the girlfriend. So, I never had children, but sometimes I see from far away, so please correct me, from a spectator's point of view, that some women feel that that's the job. So when that's over, the second the kid stops needing you, what now? I never went through the what now because it's always about me because I'm the kid. I am not, I am very maternal because I have pets and I even probably smother my boyfriend too sometimes. But anyway, that's another story. I am quite caring and stuff, but I never went through the part where your life ends because there's your children.
It doesn't end, it changes.
No.
It changes. And everybody says, say goodbye to your old self for a while.
Well, I think it so depends on the individual, on the person. But it's an interesting one because thinking about sort of the evolution of like my career, and I'm sure the same. When I had my children and I stepped away from. I was running this educational project and I was doing a lot of speaking and conferences and things like that. And then I was out for about, I guess, over a year. And I remember thinking, this is going to be so hard to go back and do that because things have moved on, workshops are different, and it's actually not. It's just that your identity becomes something other in that interim, and then you come back in a different incarnation in a way.
You're a different person.
You're a different person, but you now have full of this experience.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I suppose it's very much whether you're someone who had a career to begin with, that whole empty nest syndrome is a very real thing for people, perhaps who haven't been able to maintain, that their sole focus has been on their children, and that's been their job, literally their job. And I guess maybe within that, when your children go, then you're like, now what? Yeah. What am I? Who am I? So I think it's really individual.
It's different people.
Because different people will, because we do go through periods of time, for sure, where you lose your identity a bit because you're so sort of submerged, but you're coming into a new identity. It's just
From the other point of view, you and I have something in common. Not only are we the same age, but we both have not had children. Neither of us have had children. Neither of us have had a family. Did you ever, Andy, get to that point where you said to yourself, okay, I am now 47, 48, that's it, that's over, that's never going to happen? Did you ever grieve for that?
Of course. Yes. But that's a whole different program. Feel free to invite me to that one.
I'll invite you to that, don't worry.
Yes. Well, when I was about to hit 40, I did try. It was not in the cards for me, but I am blessed with the fact that I'm not one of those women who needed kids or else. Mm-hmm. I feel very sad for women who can't have children and they really want them. Now, I really wanted them, don't get me wrong, but I deviated very quickly. I did grieve, but maybe I didn't go, because I heard, obviously we're girls, we have our circle of friends, and I have the friends who have managed to have children like that, and I have the friends who have had to work for them, and I had the friends who have had marriages end because they couldn't. Now I saw all that, and when it came my turn, okay, I can't have children, the situation is no children, okay, so we will go this way, quickly. I did grieve, and I still grieve, but again, I'm a big believer. Okay, that's not the direction for me, God. Let's move on, all right? And like I said, different program, lots more to say, because I have a lot to say. I'm trying to... But I am a mother to this is another thing. I am a mother to my pets, not the same, I know. I am sometimes a bit of a mother to my boyfriend, not the same, I know. And I am a big mommy to my parents. Because you know what I mean? Not the same, I know. But my point is, there is a way to release your love. Mm-hmm. There is a way to fulfill your love. And I believe that at every step of your life, you're going to be given opportunities to release that love. You know what I mean? I mean, right now, my parents are in their 70s, and they know, if they're watching, that it's my biggest fear, their age. But I know that...
But hang on a second, you saying your parents are in your 70s, Helga's, heading to that age, and she's doing mighty fine.
Yeah, great, fine, no problem. But nature is nature, you know what I mean? And my parents have never been the old type of parents, so I know that when I'm for me, age doesn't matter because that's what they've shown me, you know?
New Max Stack Mascara. Stack. 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 Stack.
But I think it was a very interesting conversation, especially when you said about motherhood and whatever. But I mean, I remember I always wanted children, all right? And thanks God I had to. But then I always wanted as well to be myself. I loved business and I loved working. So I was very torn. No, I want both. Can I have both? And I come from a very, my parents were very conservative, mummy at home, sort of this background. I mean, in fact, when I was pregnant with the first one, my mother said, now you're going to stay home. I said, if I can, no. Because, and thanks God I had a husband who understood, though I had a partner. Because for me, what was very important is that I will be a happy mother. And I can only be happy if I am fulfilled.
Absolutely.
My children don't ask me to stay home and change nappies and feed. What they ask me is to give them quality time. And that I always gave. But I didn't have to wash the floors or change the nappies all the day. I had to be there when they needed me, to talk to me every day, cook for them or whatever. So that was always, and I know that at the beginning, and I mean, obviously at my age, we are going back a long time, a lot of women, especially in Malta, and I have to say it, made me feel very guilty.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
You are not a real mother, because I was out there in the business world. And that, I mean, quite often I was torn. I mean, will I harm my children or whatever? Thanks God I had a husband who was a hands-on husband, did everything. We were a very good team. We were parents. There was never a very strict mother role and father role. Whoever was there was always somebody there.
Yeah.
But my husband could play the mother role. I could be the father role. In fact, I was always a bit the stricter one. He was the more spoiling. Very different roles, But, and I think even when I told you that, when I speak to young women especially, they very often tell me, because that was one of the things, because I always said one of my biggest achievements was to have both. That I was fulfilled in my personal dream I had and life I wanted, and yet I was blessed to have 2 children. And I would think, if you ask my children, I think, definitely no regrets.
Exactly.
Very proud of me.
Exactly.
We're very close as a family, still very, very close. I mean, my daughter works like me. Her husband works half day only because he's a houseman. So they learned from our way of bringing them up that both can work, and it's very important to be yourself, to be happy.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you are at home a mother and you always say, my God, because of this kids, I can't do this, or
The kid will get used to it. I can relate from the other point of view. My mom's an artist. She paints. And when we were born, obviously my mom's always been a bit, artistic. My father's more of the rock, okay? When we were young, I remember being jealous of my friends because their mommy used to help them with homework. My mom used to go to the School of Arts and learn art. Nowadays, my whole house is covered in gorgeous art. But the thing is this, I know that my mom had a little bit of a challenge with people who might have looked down on her, but I had nothing less as a child. So when I grew up with a mother like that, who till today, she's gonna be 70-something, I promise I'm not gonna say, Ma, what age you are. And she's still young at heart. She's young at heart because she was allowed by my dad, by whatever, by, by her hard head because she wanted to paint. to do what she dreamt to do. And till today, she's young. She's the one I chat with. She's the one we joke with, you know. And my father the same. Because really and truly, there is no, in my opinion, I might be talking too much, there's no role. If this is who you are, be that. And you won't age.
But you're talking from a point of wisdom of a woman who's 48. And this comes back to what you said, Helga, about guiding, about taking your wisdom, your experience, and everything that you've learned over your last number of years, and being able to pass that on to others. And this comes back to this matter of age, because you're saying this, that you understand your mum now.
But I did
as an adult.
But I never judged her before either, because I had no, for me that was the norm.
But bringing this back to the topic of age, sorry, just got back to age. But we're talking about wisdom and passing on that wisdom, and that wisdom that you've got and you've experienced. And you talked about being able to do that. Now, there is the statistic that shows that in other cultures that are not Western cultures, that experience is really revered and really respected. And yet, 50% of women over the age of 45 think that they are transparent in culture because they don't have a role anymore. And that might come back to not being able to make the transition out of the parent role that you just mentioned. So is this the way that we do it? Is Helga's solution to mentor, is that what we do as women when we get above 45? Because 45 to me seems really young.
Well, 45 is young. I mean, yeah, absolutely, it is really young. And but I think what Helga was saying about mentoring is also so valuable and again so interesting, because that specifically as an older woman for younger women, because like you say, they're seeking the knowledge and the experience and almost being given permission to be confident, permission to seek. And what you're learning, and as I learned too, is to be curious and to listen and ask the questions. So it's a wonderful dialogue. So 45 is young. I think 45 is very young. I think 55 is young. I think 75 is young. I mean, I think you're as old or as young as you.
I'm very curious. I'm very curious to see in 20 years' time whether the 20-year-olds of today are gonna feel transparent. Because the 20-year-olds of today are so different.
Exactly.
Because when I was 20, I was different from my 20-year-old mom. But I'm really different now from my 20-year-old niece. Way more different. Are you understanding me? Mm-hmm. The gap now, in my opinion, is so much bigger with internet, with Instagram,
because technology.
With confidence. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't have the confidence that my 20-year-old niece has. Mm-hmm.
But hang on. Do you really think there's confidence? Because the show that we've had with social media influencers and body image and the shows that preceded this suggest that confidence is not in young people.
I don't think you are so right. They pretend to be because of the technology. They worldwide, they know what's going on, this confidence. But I think what they are losing out is learning these values. Because you need down at the base, you need the values. And that you cannot, I mean, by just looking at these glossy things and internet and Facebook and what the other one is doing, what they are eating every day. I mean, this is all very artificial. I think what they need is real values. And in fact, like when you said as well, mentoring, when I speak to young women, and very often I'm being asked, how will I manage to have children and a career? How can I do it? And I said, look, it's the quality you're giving to your children. I mean, for me, it was always important to have every evening a meal with them and everybody around the table. I need to talk. My day was this. That is important, that they know they can talk to you. You know the issues. I mean, all right, you can take a takeaway meal. It's not that you cook or whatever, but that you are there to listen to them, mm-hmm. that they know whatever they can talk to you.
That's so interesting.
And you need to have then a discipline in your time. You need to know exactly what time you want to spend and on what with them. Mm-hmm. You know, you can do both, but it needs good time management and it needs discipline. Like, for example, for us, and it needs possibly, if you have a partner, the right partnership. Because I must say, I mean, obviously without my husband, I think it would have been very, very different. He was a big part of that we managed that. But for example, as well, every weekend, and I still, sort of certain things never die. I mean, you can reach me till Friday evening. Then my phone is totally either off or ignored. Monday morning, I go back. If I have a missed call, I go back. My weekend is my leisure time with my family, now with my grandkids, and I always had that. Business never interrupted my weekend with my family.
But hearing this from a lady who has had one of the most successful business careers in Malta is essential to younger generations. They need to know that actually the social media, the influencers, the posting everything that you've eaten isn't going to make you successful
And it's
necessarily.
so constant that it scares me. It's scary. I mean, I follow influencers, and this show is not about influencers. But I say, oh my God, they post everything. And I'm like, it's gonna pass you by, and you're gonna be 30 soon, and you won't even have enjoyed that steak because you're posting a picture of it rather than having it while it's hot. You know what I mean? But anyway, that's another story.
Well, it's not
It's
really
so
because
artificial now.
how do we? You mean you're making a good point that comes again
Don't
from
get
a
me
point
wrong, I do post, but
every steak.
no,
But that comes from a point of wisdom, and that's exactly what we're saying: is that the values that us around the table have, that younger generations don't have. And I can remember being 20 years old and thinking that I was different because I knew everything. But every 20-year-old thinks they know everything, and I think that is the one thing
and
that
I
hasn't
was
changed.
so judgmental, and I will say it on every television I can. I was so You know what I'm thankful for with age mostly? Slapping me in the face, because I was so, I am separated, okay, from a man who's one of my greatest friends. Love him to bits. We're still great friends. But I remember when I was younger, I was so judgmental. No, married women don't do that. Girls with a boyfriend don't do that. She's a slut. She's that. Nah. I remember when it happened to me, the separation, the very first thing, I literally saw it. Me on a mountain, and suddenly I'm in the boat with everybody else, and it felt great not to be on that mountain anymore, because I was such a judgmental youngster, and now I'm totally non-judgmental because now I've been through stuff. And now when I hear stories of that one did that with that one, you know what? I feel so much. The fact that I'm 48, I can now say, listen, chill, give her the time of day, give him the time of day. Maybe he did that because of that. Because now when you're older, you know that it's not necessarily that happened because that. Now there's a spectrum. I mean, my brother used to tease me, used to tell me, Anne, life's not black and white. And I'm like, no, life's black and white. No sex before marriage, no this, no that. I was like, oh. And now I'm 48. And not as free as I would love to be, but much freer. Because I'm 48.
Does freedom come from age, Sam? Does freedom come with age?
Well, I mean, we're free when we're young and we're teenagers and we can do what we like and we don't have any responsibility. Age, we have a lot of responsibility. I have aging parents. I have, late teenage, children. I have have a lot of responsibility. But within that responsibility, yes, my age and what I've accrued from working, from bringing up children. Yes, it's given me a freer space to operate in, because I don't have to. I mean, we're always thinking about the people we love. I mean, of course, but I don't have to be there for everybody all the time. So yes, there is a great freedom with that. But we've all earned it.
truly what I think is as well very, very important with aging, that you actually keep active. Because, I know people of a certain age, maybe even my age, who are old. Honestly. And I could understand youngsters saying, oh my God, they still believe we have to be like we were 20 years back. They never accepted reality. You can only have the wisdom or help them or mentoring them when you stay active, when you get to know what's going on in the world, you are relevant to them, you can understand the world they are living now and the changes, and then bring in what you from your value side knew, because certain values will always remain, but obviously life and their life changes. So you have to be aware of that. If you don't, especially, and I see that as well, especially around here, a bit in Malta, where people resist change a lot. And then the youngsters change, and they see that so suddenly, so fast then, because with technology now, they are all of a sudden now connected to the whole world, and they have stayed back. They didn't change with them. They didn't make this breakthrough. And that, I think, then you can't be the wisdom leader and with old. So you need to be, and then as well, your age will become a problem for you. Whereas if you stay active, if you stay young of mind, if you are interested, getting to know what's going on in the world, then I think age actually can be very nice, because you're mature. You are appreciating certain things in a complete different way than when you were young.
Absolutely.
You obviously as well weigh things differently. Where before, as I said, when I was 26, adventure, driving down to Malta, taking risks, I didn't even think they were risks. What adventure? I was young.
Yeah.
And the young ones, thanks God, are like that. That's why they are changing the world.
Yeah,
thanks
absolutely.
God. But when you are older, then you would start looking a bit at both sides.
Yeah.
Is that fine? Is that not? And I think that's where you then could be a very good sounding board for them, for their risk takings, their going out, getting it, and you say, yes, do. But be careful that you have a plan B. This could be happening. Just be aware, go for it, but think a bit more before you just jump. And that, I think, is where these good connections can come in, where you, as a more mature person, yet having gone through all that and still understanding youth, you can help.
And the youth keep you young too.
Yes,
because
and it keeps you young.
Keeps you young.
Of course.
And your curiosity keeps you young. And the fact
I'm
that you
telling
keep learning from...
For me, being surrounded by young people makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And then I see the potential. And when I see the way they are thinking at things, and especially I must say, in today's world, we need the youth to change things.
Absolutely.
And they are the changer.
Yep.
So we need to really support them, get them out, maybe then mellow them sometimes a bit, but it has a good and a bad side. But that's where the age and the youth can really come together and be more forceful and more effective, maybe.
You were nodding profusely and agreeing with all of that. Would you add, we all want to stay young no matter, and what you were just saying is that age, our physical age, does not dictate how old we are. Would you add to anything of that? The best way to stay young, to stay youthful, even as years advance?
Yeah, well, I would reiterate everything that Helga said, because I think being engaged and being curious and being open to learn from the younger generations is absolutely key for changing the world. We can give this another program. It's another episode, another show. Climate change and et cetera, But I do think it keeps us relevant, because we're engaged in the conversation, and I think that's key to staying relevant, to staying youthful and understanding that you can contribute, that we've got so much, because I feel like I'm my poor children, but I feel I have a lot to contribute and to help guide, but also I learn so much from them, And there, we were talking about roles, and it's so interesting because obviously, like the role of men in childcare has changed so much. It doesn't just land anymore. I mean, not across the board, but there's such a shift in our culture, and there's such a shift in roles, and it's far more commonplace and far more acceptable for men to be changing nappies and to be at home and to be the primary caregiver. I know many who are. And so there's so like you were saying with the younger, your 20-year-old niece, absolutely it's completely different because their expectations will be completely different. And how they expect to raise a family maybe, completely different to how it was for me and how it was for you. So I think that there's just much to learn. And I think the learning and the engagement and understanding that you can affect.
But also, you have now, I mean, obviously, with technology and all, they have much more flexibility as well in their work patterns. And it has changed so drastically. Yeah. And I mean, when I see especially young couples, how engaged young men now are with their children, it really makes me feel good because I know I had a husband like that, but he was the exception. Yeah. Now it's the norm.
Now it is the norm.
The father changing a nappy or whatever, or the mother saying, "Go, she needs a nappy change." No problem, And I'm so glad because they are gaining being part of their children.
Of course.
And not being this very defined roles we used to have, the strict father, the spoiling mother, this very old-fashioned thing. And I think that is as well where technology and flexibility is helping now, that they can be more at home, they can choose a bit how they work. If they want to be on their own, do things on their own, not anymore in this 9 to 5, strict. I mean, that is where we see the changes,
Yeah. You can fashion your own dynamic. Yes, you can fashion your own family dynamic.
And I think it's good that these changes are happening, really,
Sam just used a word back then that completely cut through the statistic of women, 50% of women over 45 feeling that they're transparent. And that word is relevant. You said the goal is to remain relevant, and that defines exactly what you were just saying as well, Helga. But you've been both talking about that in the context of family, and for us, maybe our relevance is different. Andy, how do you see that you would be continuing your relevance well into years beyond?
You know what? I see the word relevant to me, like it touched you, but it didn't touch me. Because to me, as long as I'm relevant to me, I'm relevant. You know what I mean? I want to wake up every morning and feel that I have a relevance in my life, in the sense that if what I love to do is paint on glass, if it gives me pleasure, if my day is fun because I've painted on glass, if I can eat, if a day is worth living, it's worth living. Because sometimes relevant might mean that you're still contributing, Now, I obviously am a person who loves to contribute. And I love to be in the spotlight, so But I also want to maybe send a message without being arrogant to people who are unlike me, and all they like to do is they like to knit. So knit. So you're happy. If you're happy, you're not dead yet. No. You're happy.
I think the relevance is not only when you have a family. Obviously, if you have a family, it is more pronounced because you are in that. But I think the relevance is more like you as well. If to give young women the feel that if you are happy, if you feel what you are doing,
then they can look up to that.
Is giving something, is making somebody feel better, or the world nicer, or good in artists, or good in business, creating a company. I mean, this confidence in themselves. And I think it doesn't need parenthood to do that. I mean, parenthood sometimes, in fact, is actually, like I said, for me, it was a crossroad. Can I do both? Because I wanted to be this fulfilled person myself and relevant to myself, that I feel good and yet I wanted the children. So, and I did both. But I don't think it's, and I mean, there are a lot of women who either cannot or do not want to have children, and they can just be as relevant in a lot of different ways.
I have to say something here, because again, it's too long to say today, but it's a totally different story. The fact that I never managed to have children, there are things which torment me. One of the things which torments me is I see how my parents are with us. We are their life. Now, we are my parents' life, my brother and I. They are my life. Scientifically, whatever, statistically, the likelihood is that they'll go first, unless something happens, God forbid. But they know that until they go, they have someone, they have me and my brother who think they are relevant always. I always have the torment that my brother has his daughter, I don't have children. So I always have the torment that when my parents leave this world, who am I? Because I am Andreana, daughter of Jessica and Joe. My brother is Carlos, son of Jessica and Joe, father of Julia. Andreana is daughter of Jessica and Joe. When they leave, the age here comes here. Here I suffer a lot. But maybe we can help people watching. Therapy has helped, because you know what? You don't know everything. Sometimes in life you need help to help yourself. And talking to them, my parents, helps a lot, and understanding nature, that it takes its course, and one day they'll be gone and I'll have a few years left without them. And then where am I going to be relevant? There. So I do have that doubt. I do have that.
But you can be relevant in a
Yes,
community.
but you have... Yes, listen.
Because you're a musician. I was like, what are you talking about? Because immediately...
But listen, I don't care about the relevance. I do care, but at the end of the day, when you're home on your own, you care about the relevance to your soul. So I thank the Lord I have a partner who I love to bits, great friends, because those are the ones who keep you youthful. Those are the ones who keep you young. So to my partner, I'm not a 48-year-old, I'm Andreana. Crazy idiot.
Yeah, precisely.
To Melanie, I'm Andreana, the one she freaks out with when we're out. And the one she shouts at when she's worried, and the one who shouts at her. So if you have... Again, I might be talking from an arrogant point of view because I've never been a mother, but sometimes I see so many people who's like, in Maltese, jien issa. Le, mhux jien issa. Come on. There's more to life. There's knitting, if that's what gives you pleasure.
You have a thing for knitting there, Andy.
No,
I'm
because
wanting
I
a
don't.
scarf.
Into a jumper. I know exactly what. I know exactly.
Knit, so I'm using knitting
I know exactly
as
what you're
something
saying.
I paint on glass once upon a time. My mother had the age she is, and when she's in her studio painting, she forgets about the back pain. She forgets about the fact that whatever, she forgets. She's Picasso. That has no age.
No, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I want to be. So,
Lady, I think
I know.
I think that we need to have another discussion about this, because
Part
as
two.
with every
Yes, I think.
conversation with Helga, and now these ladies as well, I feel like we came to the end of the discussion, but we've only just started scratching below the surface. But I do really appreciate you in all the messages that you passed across about being relevant, staying relevant, and redefining age as not how many years you have in you, but what life you have in you. Ladies, thank you so much indeed. We're going to do this again.
Thank
you so much for every wisdom.
Thank you.
My morning starts here with an experience that's unforgettable. A precise roast and a generous crema. Taste the unforgettable espresso.